it up, you couldn't find it. Even, I think it was Peter writing to the Galileans or whatever, when they were messing the church up. They weren't doing it right, and as the apostles died off, it got even more lost and confused. So there was a necessity for the restoration of Jesus' church, of the power to cast out demons, lay your hands on the sick, and there's a need for that before the second coming. And that's when, when Joseph Smith was a young boy who prayed about hey, what do I do? There's probably just a boy like Vicky was not too long ago, like I was when I was younger, just kind of lost, didn't know what church to go to, and reading in James, when he prayed about it, that's what started off, and the Lord was ready to bring his church back as he had it set up before, with the power of the priesthood, which is really important. The power of the priesthood, the authority to act in God's name. It's so much, and so much in reading the four Gospels talks about casting out demons, things like that, and that power just to be back here, which is such an important thing.
And that's something really cool for Glenn, because Glenn really responded well when we talked to him about the priesthood.
Yeah.
We actually gave him a priesthood blessing, and he's like, I want to do that.
That's cool.
And then I remember when I was studying the restoration, and I was just reading back and forth, and I had prayed about it and stuff, because he was always telling me, really you have to pray before you start reading, and you'll get your answers, for sure. I remember that one night that I went ahead and I prayed and I started reading, and I was just and I was actually reading in the New Testament. I wasn't reading in the Book of Mormon. I wanted to do the comparison of the two, and I just literally flipped the page, and it was in Ephesians, which I have to look it up. I highlighted it, but I have to look it up, and it says that the church was based on the Church of Jesus Christ was based on apostles, prophets, and it gave the whole list. And I was like, babe, look. And it just gave me more there. On Ephesians 4:11, it says he gave some apostles and some prophets.
That's not what
No, that's not
But the point is, it's okay. You know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Wait.
I think it's 2. Chapter 2.
Yeah. 2:20. And they are starts off, and therefore ye no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone.
Yeah, that was one of one of Vicky's spiritual post-its that we talked about when she was going through her discussions and wanting to know if this was the true church. She kind of just opened up to it, and she was like, you guys have a prophet. People sometimes don't realize that we have a prophet, stuff like that, but it just makes sense because it's been that way from the beginning. Jesus set this church up. That's how it was. And it was cool. One thing that really testified to Vicky, just Jesus said his church don't have apostles and prophets. All right.
All right.
That's what you guys have, apostles and prophets. It makes sense.
So
that's awesome.
Do you think maybe you'd be able to talk about the Book of Mormon and prayer, the last 2 points in the Preach My Gospel? If you turn
Book of Mormon, another type of Jesus Christ.
Keep going.
Pray to know the truth of the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, keep going. There you go.
That's right.
Book of Mormon and prayer. Since you've had those personal applications about reading the Book of Mormon and praying, and so you can share why it was so important in your conversion to read the scriptures and the Book of Mormon and to pray to receive your answers. And you can talk about how God led you to receive your answers.
Yeah, and one of the first things I remember was was it the first day that I went to church? That Daniel.
I remember Verona 10:3-5.
Yeah.
10:35.
You shared that too.
Yeah, I saw it here pointed out to again. I remember when I was in church that I went to church for the first time, and they were doing it. The lesson that they did was pretty much directed to the non-members, and I made the post-its in the back of his.
She wrote my Bible.
The Bible. This is my first lesson.
Those are Vicky's notes. Vicky's notes we originally in church. We didn't have any papers, so she wrote that in my quad.
And
that's awesome.
And my my notes was, ask with a sincere heart, ask having faith, ask if it's not true, so it can be confirmed by the truth by God. and then we have to make our conclusions for ourselves. Like we can't just go on because, oh, he's been a member for so long, and I love him, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Like I had to make my own conclusion of it. I had to make my own research, my own study guides, and actually like go in myself. And I mean, even